My rant right now is about Tinx eating salad with a spoon. It's like spoon soup salad. It's like a soup and salad mixed together. I'm like, do you eat fucking gazpacho? Because it's effectively what you're doing. You're spooning your salad. And I respectfully disagree. My guest today is Christina Najjar, better known as the TikTok phenom Tinx. Tinx is a digital creator, advice expert, and podcast host. I became aware of her from her presence on TikTok, where she's known as TikTok's big sister. I've talked before on the show about the good, the bad, and the ugly of TikTok, and there's no better person to weigh in on these things than Tinx. Plus, Tinx and I had a very contentious truffle fry fight that we needed to settle, so let's get into it. Oh my God.
Hi.
Hi. What's going on? Where are you?
I'm in LA. I'm at home. I just got back from working out, ready to take on the week, ready to talk with you. I'm so excited to meet you finally.
I'm excited too. So what does LA feel like compared to New York to you? What are you? Are you a New Yorker? Do you feel like you're from England? What do you feel inside?
I have lived so many different places. I like LA for the lifestyle. The people can be tough. The people, the scene here can be a little bit tough. But once you find your people and you stick with them, it's great. I like the lifestyle. I like to be hot. I like the sun. I like to be outside. I like the whole vibe of LA. But the people in New York, the energy, it's unmatched, you know? But I don't really know if I feel like I'm from anywhere, to be honest with you. I always kind of feel a little bit out of place, but I like it that way.
Right. And then you're really an observer.
Yeah.
But in LA, when I lived there for 10 years from, I didn't even walk with the class, but right after NYU. And I thought I would never leave, but I was at a different age. But I did find, because I'm very insular and I don't go out a lot, it's very hard to sort of motivate yourself because you might have to go across town, where in New York, even if you're not going to quote unquote the cool place, walking outside is interesting. So what do you think about all that distance?
Yeah, no, it's so true. Like in New York, it's really funny you say that, because I was out with some friends the other night, and we went to one party. We thought it was going to be great, and it was a miss. And then we were like, well, we're all dressed up. We want to go somewhere. You know, in LA, it takes a lot more planning. In New York, and we all stood there on the street corner, and we said, if we were in New York, we could go into any of these bars and it would be a scene. It would be a vibe. It would be fun. There would be energy. It's just different. And in LA, it takes like 2 weeks to plan something. You're like meeting your friend and they live 40 minutes away. It's literally like a calendar invite, and you got to think about traffic and all this stuff. And yeah, you can just like to sit in your house, but I also like to sit in my house. So I'm okay with that, you know?
Right. But it was hard to motivate. For me, it was very hard, meaning going to the deli in New York can be an experience. Just walk downstairs. You've got in your elevator, you're in your pajamas, you interact with someone.
Yeah.
You felt something. You've spent $20 and you've seen something.
You've seen something in your doorman. Yeah. It's like a whole community. You go outside, like there's some woman in a fabulous coat. There's like a mom walking. There's kids. Like there's so much. And that's the energy, right? You land in New York, you get off at JFK, and you feel like you just shotgunned a Red Bull. And that's the beautiful thing about it, because there's so much to see. You're never alone. You never feel lonely. There's always something to do. There's always stuff happening. And in that way, it can feel exhausting, but also very cozy. And like, there's always stuff. So,
you can be alone and you can be alone and not feel lonely, which is why it's interesting that it would seem that New York would be lonely because so much is going on, but you can kind of feel part of something. LA can be lonely.
LA can be very lonely. I think that LA is more lonely than New York.
Yes.
I was too soft for New York at this stage of my life. And like you, I kind of feel like I'll never leave LA, but as I've gotten older, I'm like, we plan and God laughs. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Like, I really don't. But at the time in my life when I lived in New York, I was too soft for it and I was too tired for it. But, I was never lonely. LA, sometimes if you don't have plans on a Sunday in LA, you're like, am I a loser? What's going on? I'm kind of alone. Like, what's happening? But I'm lucky. I get to spend time in both. And I'm sure everybody who doesn't live in LA and New York are like, these fucking coastal people, all you guys do is debate LA and New York, LA and New York. And that is like, all I do is I think about both of them. They're both fabulous in different ways.
For these people you're discussing, because I was thinking that I spend most of my time in the Hamptons and now Connecticut. I did not want to be in the city anymore. And I like seeing grass and being alone and just feeling peace. I don't know if that's just an age thing, but I was always in New York and never really experiencing what there was to experience. Like everything I've ever done to leave the house has been for work. So you're in the thick of it now. And do you mind am I allowed to ask how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 31.
So you're 31. You're very, very young. I didn't hit success until I was 37. So I'm trying to relate to you. I hit success not in the way that you are, but I did hit some success, and I was living in New York City, and I was a late bloomer. So you talk about all these starter packs, which I think is interesting for those of you listening, Rich Mom Starter Pack, and you're quintessentially personifying these places, many of which that I've lived in, from the Hamptons to Greenwich to the city, and different parts of the city, uptown, downtown. So do you know all of these places, or you imagine it, or you're garnering magazine articles and things on TV? Like, how much of them do you intimately understand?
So I think a lot. And to go back to what we were discussing in the beginning, you know, my parents are American, and then I moved when I was 6 months old to London, but I always felt out of place there because I was at a British school, but my parents were American. So I was kind of, from a young age, I was always fascinated with like what makes people feel like they belong, right? Like what makes a place a place. And this is to get on, you know, I think with the Rich Mom thing, you can go, there's two sides of it. There's like the anthropological, like deep side of like, I'm obsessed with female happiness over a certain age. I'm obsessed with what makes a place, but it's also just fun satire. So
and it's douchey, and most of it's correct because it is douchey. I have to send you something about this animated little couple, and she's telling him that Quag is not the fucking Hamptons. I'm going to send it to you. You'll die.
Send it to me. Yeah.
It's effectively a 20-year-old rich mom.
Yeah. And it's fun. So I think for most of the cities that I do, I just know, you know, from living there and know people. Sometimes I have to call in a Rich Mom consultant and get the details because it's all about the details. You know, for Miami, I don't know much about Miami. I called my girlfriend who's from there, and she told me what the cool schools are and what the, you know, where everybody goes to dinner and everything.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, it is fun, but it's also like at its core, like I said, I'm really obsessed with like women and how they grow and how they maintain their happiness and how they evolve and like how their stories kind of unfold. So it's a little bit of fun. It's satire. It's a little bit of everything.
Right. Well, I mean, people have watched you come up. So you've been broke, right? Have you been broke when you were living in the studio apartment? Did you feel broke, or you've never been broke? I wasn't going to, I don't want to lie. I wasn't going to be on the street. I wasn't going to be on the street, but I didn't have any money in my bank account. Like I was going to have to move home. And I know that a lot of people don't have a home to go to, but I could move home to London to be with my parents. And that's like a really great fallback, but I didn't have any money in my bank account. I didn't have a job. I definitely felt like a fucking failure, especially because I felt like I had been, you know, I went to college, I went to grad school, I had tried so many different things and nothing was clicking. And I felt like I had something to give, and I felt smart, and I felt like I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what. So I wasn't going to be on the street, but I did feel like a big failure. Well, also you thought you had something, but we don't know. When you might think you have it, but you haven't seen the end of the movie. A lot of people think they have it and they don't. So you're still sort of in the middle of the marathon, not having any idea, you know, whether to just not do it or go all the way. Yeah. And when you say move home, does that mean with strings, meaning you would have been supported, or that just means you still would have had to have a job, but you'd have a roof over your head?
Oh,
you wouldn't have been homeless.
100%. I would have still had a job. For me, I love to work. I've worked since I was 16. I love to work. And even when I was working in jobs that I knew weren't right for me and that I was bad at, I still prefer to work. Like if you gave me $1 billion tomorrow, I would keep going exactly as I'm going now. Yeah. That's just whatever. But I would have had to get a job, but I didn't have any money for rent. Like I was the end of the road was coming for the rent. Yeah.
Likewise. I get that. That's you're not comparing yourself to homeless people by any means, but in your life, you couldn't afford to do the things you wanted to do. You couldn't go buy something, go to dinner. I get that. Yeah. I couldn't afford a taxi in New York City because it's very expensive. And you know that feeling when the big bill comes with a group of people that you're out to dinner with, and you pray that you don't have to split it, or that everyone's in order. Yeah.
And I felt like a loser a little bit because I just felt like no cylinders were firing. I felt like, you know, I wasn't dating anybody. I didn't have a job. I had just moved for like the third time in my 20s, new city again. And it was just like, I was kind of like, damn, like, I don't know how this is going to work out. Like, I hope it does, but I can't really see the end. And I was starting to feel a little panicky, especially because I moved to LA on my 29th birthday. And a lot of people think that I moved to LA because I wanted to be famous. I didn't. I moved to LA because I didn't like New York that much. And I wanted to be a writer. And I thought maybe if I could try a new city, like so I have some friends there. I really like it, but I didn't by any means move to do this. But then I was like sitting there on my birthday and my friends made me go to dinner. They were like, no, like, welcome to LA. We got to take you out. And I remember I got so drunk and I was like sobbing at this dinner because like my friends were getting married. They were getting all these crazy promotions. They had these great careers. And I was like, I feel like I fucked up because I feel like I should have just stuck with something. Like I shouldn't have kept, I had that doubt. That definitely crept in. And then I did this really cheesy thing. I remember I was in the hotel and I wrote this letter to my future kids. And I was like, you're 29, your mom is 29 today. Like I'm moving, I'm going on this gut feeling. I don't know what's going to happen, but I always want you guys to be brave. And I always want you to trust yourself and to just keep trying and go. So anyway, pandemic, blah, blah. Here we are.
Wow. Well, no, but there's a couple of things that are jumping off the page. So I know that feeling that like I'm a loser and panic. But I was in my mid to late 30s and I would be going out to clubs and then be, drinking and come home and like eat everything like you sure do in your apartment and felt depressed. I didn't have anybody to possibly ever move in with. Not that makes a difference, but like you did not know, like, how's this going to end? Where am I working? What is it going to be? I don't have anyone to take care of me. I have no safety net. But I think that we have to talk to women about I thought I had to have it wrapped up when I was 25 years old. I really did. When I was like, I literally thought it all had to be wrapped up. And so I did what you did, where I was on a couple of good trajectories. I mean, I worked for Lauren Michaels and I worked for Kathy Hilton and I worked Jerry Bruckheimer, but I kept moving around because I thought I was late. And I think young girls need to understand they're so not late. Because I mean, I now think 37 was so young. Like I'm listening to you at 31. I literally think when I was 37, miserable and depressed and had nothing going on, not married, not a kid, I still think that's young. So I think I don't know how to convey that to young women about the age thing, because you were going through it not so long ago. Yeah,
I know, and I talk about it all the time because I think it is a key cause of panic for women. I think it's a key cause of why women settle.
Yes.
And I get so many people, so many women writing to me saying, you're not going to believe this. They say, you've made me not afraid to turn 30 and not be married and still try things. And I'm like, what have we done that we have poisoned women's minds to think that your life ends at 30s? It's not a game of musical chairs. There's no timer, but that's what we tell women. That's what everybody's, it's like got to be wrapped up.
I can't believe we're still telling them that. My assistant in front of me, she's 26 years old. She thinks she should have a boyfriend by now. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I'm like, your 20s dating and your 20s need an entire rebrand. They need an entire rebrand. You got to focus on yourself, focus on your female friendships because they're the ones that are going to lift you up. Focus on trying different things. And by the way, finding out that you don't like a job is as important as finding out as you do like a job. And that's,
by the way, you were in a serious relationship and wanted to marry the guy. Let me explain something to you. Once you are married, once you have kids, God forbid you get divorced, you don't understand. You're locked. I can't just go move to Florence for 6 months because I want to go eat good food and drink olive oil. You could turn it into content. You could literally go tomorrow to Florence and live for 6 months because you want to. Like, it's nice to be free and everybody wants to be there instead of being here. And it's shocking because not until you get into your 50s do you realize what that means. You're shackled by 500 things.
Exactly. No, and it's like, what's the rush? Like, seriously. It's like, and by the way, if you meet the love of your life, if you have the perfect job in your 20s, that's great too. Mm-hmm. That's great too. And I'm not diminishing that that's a real possibility for people, but it's okay if you haven't found it yet. And you have to remove the panic from the situation, because all that's doing is clouding your judgment. All that's doing is clouding your creativity. When you're sat there thinking, oh my God, I'm not married yet. Oh my God, look at my friend. She's bought a house and I'm broke, blah, blah, blah. All that's doing is adding pressure. And when you should be thinking, what do I want to do today? What am I interested in learning about? What's going on in my life? Like, comparison is the thief of joy. I'd say it. I know it's annoying. I say it non-fucking stop to my followers, but I'm like, you guys, you have to stop comparing yourself to other people, to where you think you should be, to where you were.
Yeah, but also they're doing but this is what's giving me so in business, the numbers don't lie. This is the numbers. This is what it made. This is what it didn't make. This is what historically happened. Okay. I was 24 and 25 and all the people were getting married, and I went to all the weddings, and literally I'm thinking of Madison Beer's mom. Like, that was one of the weddings. Lizzie Grubman. That was one of the There's one person of all those weddings that is still married. Now, I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but if the numbers don't lie, if these people were all in their 20s rushing to do what everybody else was doing because they were comparing, and here I am with the numbers 25 years later, and these people are not married anymore, how do we... that needs to be communicated back through time. Like, the comparison theory goes to here, but we could just tell them youth is wasted on the young. If you say the numbers don't lie, here's the numbers. Don't invest in that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like you can't settle, because you know what, as you said, it's like people are rushing, women are rushing, they're settling. I don't know why, because they want this wedding so badly. They want the fairy tale wedding.
By the way,
and they want it tied
ring
up in a bow. They want it done. They just, I feel the angst. I feel the need to have it tied up in a bow and done. And I'm like, what do you think happens after? What do you think? You get some magic card. I tell my assistant every day. You get some magic happiness card and you're done. No, you wake up the next morning and the only thing that's different is you have some nice photos to post on Instagram. Your happiness still matters. The things that you will think about, they're the same. Like it should only be additive. It should only be additive. Yep. You can't change your life. And I'm just like desperately trying to tell all my younger girls who follow me, this, because it's heartbreaking. They write to me and they're like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I'm 26 and I don't have a boyfriend. And I'm like, and?
I know it's good. There's going to be, we'll find a secret sauce to convey it in some way that they really feel it from a porous nature. To me, the thing that I've found is actually that it's like the most helpful thing. Like, I can talk about it till I'm fucking blue in the face. But the thing is, if you lead by example, like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I wish that I had myself when I was 26, because I was panicked at the time. And if there had been an influencer who was like 31, who was successful, who had amazing friends, an amazing life, bought herself a house, and was kind of just like, I'll meet him when I meet him, I could have used that, because we had Sex in the City. You're younger.
I was in the Sex and the City era. I was of the V1 of influencers who were all like, I'm 24 and my body's perfect and there's no problems in my life and my Instagram looks perfect. And I was like, well, ooh, I'm majorly fucked. And then it's the Sex and the City thing, where it's like, in Sex and the City, which, by the way, I love the show. I grew up on it, but like every week is like their stocks are up or down based on the guy. That's the entire thing of the show. And all the onus falls on women. Don't do this. Don't wear this. Don't do that. Otherwise you're not gonna, nab a guy. And by the way, the other harmful trope in that show is that it really pits women against women. Remember that episode? The 30-something women versus the 20-something women? Why does it have to be this or that?
Oh, right. And also, nobody could afford, it wasn't realistic, because you're talking about a lot of these starter packs as an aspirational, satirical thing. The truth is, nobody can afford that life in New York City on those jobs at that time. You can't afford those clothes. Yeah, it's so true. So you're smart. You went to Stanford. That's quite impressive. Thank you. That's like a calling card, I have to say.
Thank you.
Do you love that? Do you use that? Does it work for you? Did it matter that you went to Stanford going back? Would you have spent all that money on that education knowing what you know now?
Stanford 100% was the best money. My parents paid for college. I'm very honest about that. They paid for that. But it really helped me spread my wings. It made me who I am today. I have no regrets. It complete self-growth, like the most amazing time of my life. Grad school, I'm going to be completely honest with you, it was a waste of time for me. It was a waste of time and money. I have a master's in fashion journalism because again, I thought I wanted to move to New York to work in fashion. Moved to New York, didn't like fashion. Okay. But so that was a real bummer. But as soon as I got to grad school, I knew very quickly, I was like, this is not a good use of my time. So I was like, I'm going to work throughout grad school so I can try different things. I was in New York, the center of the world. I was like, I got to try different things on the side because this isn't worth it. But Stanford, I'm extremely proud of it. Like I'm extremely, extremely proud of that. I worked very hard in high school. And I really wanted to, I was pretty academic in high school. I was pretty nerdy. And then as soon as I got into Stanford, I was like, I'm going to have a break. I've been busting my ass. I partied nonstop, was president of my sorority. Absolutely loved it. It was great.
You sound slightly apologetic about not growing up with nothing. Like you want to be accountable to your following. So you're not, that you were born on second base, not third, but like, that you were born on a base.
I try to hold myself really accountable. And I mean, this is all, we're entering such an interesting, like time, because I always wonder like how much context are we asking people to give, right? I'm going to bring up an example and we don't have to go that deep into it. So for example, the Kim Kardashian thing, when she said, get your fucking ass up and work, whatever. And people shredded her. They shredded her on the internet for a week. And I was reading the comments and to me, it seemed like, the thing that they were angry about is that she grew up with money. And she didn't give that context. And it really kind of opened this thing to me, like in my head of, how much context are we expected to give? Because I've been misquoted before. I'm sure you have too. And so I'm always wary, but at the same time, I hate qualifying everything that I say. You know what I mean? It's like, it's going to make language very difficult if we're constantly qualifying. So I try to strike a balance, but listen, my parents paying for college is quite important for context because it meant that I entered the world of adulthood debt free. And that's not that's not a reality for a huge majority of Americans. So I do want to be honest about that. And
I don't think things do need context if you're going to make a dramatic statement like that. I don't think everything needs context. You're allowed to have a Dior bag, but also have worked hard and been successful. Like you're I mean, many people don't think you are. And there are many things you can't comment on as a white woman. And that puts you in, and there are many things that men can't comment on as a white man now because it's not in to be a man, but there's a million things to navigate, as you know.
Yeah.
I think people just feel like we'll give it to her because she's worked her ass on, as I like to say, fully, but you can't go too far and start saying that, listen, not until there was some girl on the red carpet. Oh, I think Zoe Saldana was just like, oh, now I guess we go to award shows where people slap each other. Then everyone was like, oh, hi, I think you were dating the son of Will Smith, or who are you? Like, if you open your big mouth, something's fucking coming. So if you're like, so that's what I have a big mouth. Trust me.
Yeah, same.
And I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So, and you know where the line is and you cross it sometimes and you take a little heat, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. Everybody's a filtered down, watered down, edited bullshit version of themselves. And I'm not here for any of it. It's disgusting. So, people know this, I'm sure. What does Tinx mean?
So Tinx is a nickname I've had for over 20 years. It's from a movie. There was a character in a movie called Tinka Parker, and she was really confident. And when I was younger, I wasn't that confident. And in the movie, she's like, she knows how to flirt with boys and she's just really loud. And so I told my friends, like, this is my alter ego now. And it just kind of stuck. And so
so your friends all call you Tinx. That's like your, okay. Mm-hmm. Does anyone call you by your real name?
My mom, my lawyer.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. It's not is it your legal name now?
No.
Okay. So where is the line in sharing? So, because there was a girl yesterday on TikTok and she said, I'm in the bathroom. And it's such tempting. I've been on Housewives. I know what it's like for it to be tempting. It's content. Everything is content.
Yeah.
So she's in the bathroom and she's like, I'm about to hook up with this guy and this isn't okay.
Oh, this stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's a trend. Oh, I didn't even know that. I just thought this was a person doing this. I didn't know that was like a thing. But then, and isn't the guy going to know? And then, isn't someone going to say to the guy while he's in that other room, because he's got his phone, there's a girl in your bathroom right now with your Head and Shoulders dandruff shit. Like, so and where is the line between like you're sharing it with them but not being present with your own life? And especially for someone like you, your whole life is content, and this has been the source of an income now. So how do you stop the faucet? And what about if you get involved with someone else who, yes, will buy into the fact that this is who you are when you meet them, just like when I met Paul, but there is a line. I mean, they don't know exactly how far they're going into this thing, and it's really fucking annoying and invasive.
It is. And it's trial and error, and I'm still figuring it out. Like, for example, I don't talk about dating anymore. I did when I my own personal dating life.
Like I met a guy and this is who he is.
Yeah. Like, and it was, by the way, the best content. And that was a really difficult, listen, dick on the table. That was a tough business decision because that was far and away.
I don't know what that is, but I can't wait to hear. What's dick on the table?
Oh, I mean, like, honestly, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, I thought
like,
that was a thing you did.
No.
You did called dick on the table. I'm like, okay.
It's like my favorite phrase. Like, no, to be honest, like it was far and away the best content, and people loved it because I would, when I first started out, I was like, I didn't know that where this was going. I didn't know how big it was.
And you weren't anybody.
And I was nobody. Right. So I was like, I made up nicknames. I'd be like, oh, well, this guy, like the new guy. And right. People, it's amazing content because you're following someone's, up and down of dating in LA. It's very fascinating. But last year I just got to a point where I was like, first of all, it makes dating too complicated for me because I don't know what people's intentions are, and I don't want someone to ever want to date me because they want to be in the content. And it also just confused me because sometimes I'd be telling my followers about something and it was like, it just added in another dimension. And
you're watching the movie as a director instead of as a person.
Exactly. And I just got to a point where I was like, so for those reasons, and also I just felt like I give so much to my followers and I'm happy to, I love them more than anything. I really do. But I just needed one thing for me. Like I just needed the personal life to stay personal and quiet, and it just made it easier for me. So I don't, but I'm happy. I pass on the lessons. I'll be like, oh, I was dating a guy a couple months ago and this happened or whatever, but not like in the same, it just was too much.
I agree.
And yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm not tired of sharing yet. I'm really love it. And it's very natural to me and I never feel like I have to. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'll see how it goes. I don't have a master plan for this, but
so I'm not that aware of a lot of things. Like I always other people have to tell me what things are. So I remember when I was going on social media, and I think it was TikTok, and I saw the starter pack thing, and I thought that was funny. I sent it to my fiance Paul. I think it was the one about the West. It was one about the West Village, but I didn't. And I think I'd seen your name, but like, there's a lot of people that like collect Chanel buttons, and those are famous people and muffin eaters in Africa too. Like, there's a lot of stuff. So I didn't know. Like, there's this person Tinx. I didn't know if you were just coming through because I had liked one or followed it, and it was coming again. But I didn't know you were like a thing. So, and I remember someone said, you should do a collaboration with Tinx. And I was like, what? And they were like, oh, she did something with Gwyneth Paltrow. And I'm like, oh, but it was sort of just like, these kids think this is cool these days. And I didn't know what they were talking about. So then, I guess also because you're in my world, your name starts coming up and now like I'm aware of it. And this was a couple of months ago when we got in touch with each other. But I wonder, like, what level of fame are you? Meaning there have to be guys on dating apps that have no idea who you are, because that's you're very niche and very woman, and you haven't reached into the male sphere on a full scale yet. But I don't know that. Maybe I'm wrong because I don't know anything. And you've gotten a lot of international press. So what level of fame are you? Are you're walking out and you're seeing girls at the yogurt store, but are you at an airport and everyone's coming up? Like, where are you in the fame spectrum?
That's such an interesting question. I don't know. I think it's so weird because it's like, it's felt like a slow progression to me, but everyone keeps saying it's so fast. But I have moments where I'm like, wow, this is really crazy. Like, if someone will try to find out where I am, or they'll be waiting for me outside, and like, not everyone is coming up to me in an airport. I said like 2 or 3 people per airport visit.
Meaning that you can date and have someone not know who you are. You're still in that phase.
Totally. But I also live in LA. So that's that's the tricky thing. But
online.
Yeah, but then it's linked to your social media.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And then they see,
Yeah.
and it's
Okay.
like in LA, I feel like it kind of splits into two groups of guys, either guys who are like, ew, has an online presence, I don't want anything to do with her, or the guys who are like, oh my God, she has a blue check mark.
Ew.
Like I want to, it's, and it's tricky because I always tell my followers, go on dating apps. Like, this is important. This is important to, if you want to date, it's a numbers game, like get yourself out there. But I'm definitely.
And do you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's sort of an unfair. Sometimes it's unfair when someone's fully aware of everything about you. When I was dating on dating apps, I would try it and then I would run away. I would literally go on and be like, I felt naked, like I'm naked and everyone else has clothes on. Because
yeah,
I'd go in and I think that people have no idea who I am. These are all like business guys, and then a guy would say, "Well, I mean, I have a nice job, but I'm not,
yeah.
New York. I'm not on New Yorkos." I'm like, oh, I'm not Aristotle Onassis. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, well, first of all, you're insecure. Like, I didn't like that they had a
it's
preconceived
just,
notion.
or it's those bits, and because I talk about dating so much, it's like, it's, and that stuff can like really cringe you out. You're on a dating app and you're matched with a guy, you think he's cute. And then he'll say to me like, oh, like, am I doing box theory or like one of my dating theories? And I'm just like,
Ew.
I'm just like, it's really tough. And I get it because like, there is so much information or there's so much content with me in it out there. So I understand it would be hard to come in with no judgment. Like I get that if I was putting myself in their shoes. But for me, I'm just like, I don't know. It just creates a weird dynamic.
There are so many men that have no idea about any of this stuff. I have,
and thank God for that.
So
yeah.
Just so you know, like, one peacock is good for you. I think you could be like, you need to find some like attractive dork that's successful, that's cool,
yeah, mm-hmm.
that thinks this is all very cute and appreciates your business savvy and success, but does not like know that these articles or this stuff. That will not work.
Yeah.
So now, how much do you now care about likes and followers and going viral? And did you care in the beginning? Have you cared at all? Has it been like, oh my God, like what has this whole thing been like?
No, I think it's honestly, it's a combination of age and just experience. But right away when I started, I thought this is what I was supposed to do. I'm an entertainer. I don't know how it's going to go, but I know this is what I want to do. And from very early on, I realized the content that did the best was when I was truly making what I wanted to see. I was just making the videos that I want to see. With my podcast, I make the podcast I want to listen to. With my radio show, I make the radio show I want to listen to. With the sweatshirts I make the sweatshirts that I want to wear. If you start chasing what you think other people want, I think that's the death now. Now you have to think about your audience and how to serve them. And I do in a way think like, how can I add value to their lives? But specifically with my content, I'm like, I'm going to make what I wanted to see. And then it feels authentic. That's the key to authenticity, is when you're not thinking like, well, maybe if I make a video about this, it will appeal to those people. Oh
no. Finding white space. Carol Radziwill once told me on the Housewives, I need to find white space. I'm like, what is white space? She's like, where there's a void in something. I go, what?
I don't agree with that. I don't, everyone's like, find your niche, do this thing. And I'm like, everyone is overcomplicating it. What's attractive and charismatic is when you can tell that people really love doing something, like they actually love doing something, whatever it is. And people are like, what's your tip for TikTok? I'm like, if you really love making oatmeal, there's a guy on TikTok who has like 40 million followers.
Stop.
And he has
not literally 40 million followers.
I think it's a lot. And he's like oatmeal guy, and he just makes new oatmeal every day.
Stop.
Why do people love to watch it? Because you can tell he genuinely fucking loves oatmeal.
Jesus
just like
Christ.
But that's the thing. It's like, make what you want, that's how you stay true to yourself. I don't overcomplicate it. I don't try to think, ooh, like where's the white space, whatever. I just think, what do I want to see? Like, what do I, that's my North Star.
So if you're doing what you love, it's not really work. Okay. We know that, but like, yeah. And so what's the structure of what you're doing? Do you say like, it's tomorrow's Tuesday, I have to post 6 things, or are you just winging it all day? Like, and then you have other things now. I guess you have deals and collaborations and partnerships. So that's a separate story. Where's the structure in this whole business? Like what goes on?
I post every day because I want to, not because I feel like I have to, because it's just like, it's pouring out of me. Like that's natural. Like I feel I'm a natural storyteller and I love to post, and that's easy and great. And then, yeah, I have my business now. I have my merch line. I have my radio show. I have all this other stuff, and I have a great team around me, and you have to hire for your weaknesses. I'm not an organized person.
Wow. Really?
I'm not an organized person. I'm an ideas person, but I like everybody to say, this is what you're doing today. This is what you need to get done. This is this and there. You got to be here at this time. And I'm like, okay, great. Just put me in.
Okay. So how many people is that? And where are they? And are you in an office, or you're doing this at your house?
No, I do it at my house. I have my management team of 2. I have my assistant. I have my agents. And
they're not in-house. They're not.
No, they're
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I have my, my publicist, and it's a team effort. It really is. And I'm very, 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 I've been very lucky with the people that have come into my life and that make up my team now, because they get it.
Lean.
It's
yeah.
Lean. Yeah. It's like, you have to get people who see the vision and who see you, who don't want to change you. They really see your path, and they understand you, and they want to go on the journey with you. And all that sounds very cheesy, but it's true.
No, it doesn't sound like it's cheesy at all. But you're you don't have like a production team at your house. You have like shitty little lights that everybody else in the country has.
Yeah, I make all my content myself
and post it yourself.
All myself. No one has access to my social media, because so many of my younger girls who follow me, like they are not even younger. Everybody writes to me incredibly personal dilemmas, and I still try to set aside. When I've started, I did an hour of DMs a day for advice, but now that I have the show, the radio show, and the pod, I don't have as much time. I still try to do half an hour a day, so it's all very personal. I post everything myself, but they write to me about their deepest, darkest secrets, so I can't have. And I would never. My content is like my purest self. It's like my purest form. I'm actually happiest when everybody leaves and I'm dicking around in my house and I'm making funny videos on my phone alone. Like that's, or writing stuff alone. I'm, writing little jokes, writing skits, like that stuff is when I'm happiest. So
interesting, because I do find that it can keep you company. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, there's a line with that too. Like looking at your phone it can be an abyss and can be like yucky, like meaning you can feel like 100%. You're gross, like you're an addict. You're like in your phone. You haven't done anything. You haven't breathed air. You're like, but fiddling around with your oatmeal or being in the kitchen, like making basil oil and then posting it, that feels like being an artist a little bit. It feels like being a little creative, but that could keep you company, 100%. Make you not want to interact. So where's that line? Because that is a line. I am an introvert. I do not leave my house. I do not leave my house.
It's I totally get that. I get in on, in kind of set in a rut. Yeah. Like I'll get in a rut. I'll be like, I don't leave my house for a couple of days, really get in there with the phone and feel really connected to the content and the internet. And then for me though, I'm an introvert, but I'm also a party animal. Like I've always loved to party, and I'm very open about that.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'll always go through waves of that. And sometimes it's a couple months. Like, I'll tell my followers, like, I'm going into hibernation. I did that in over like December and January. For 6 weeks, I just watched TV, and I was just with my followers, and when I say followers, I mean, my community.
I know what you mean, but it's funny, this new language of community and platform.
Well, I was on a podcast the other day, and someone thought that I meant followers, like I thought I was Jesus or something, and I was like, no, that's social media, like that's what you call them, like
right.
So I just want to clarify, but first they were like, this girl's so vain, she thinks she's Jesus. I was like, no, they mean they follow my content anyway. Clarifying.
Your apostles is obviously
exactly.
What you meant.
For 6 weeks, I was just like, all I was doing was reviewing TV, and my followers actually love when I'm home, because they love that content, because I love to react to things. I love to be like, look at watching this, watching that. This is what I think about this. This is my hot take on that. But then I'll go out and I'll have, a couple weeks of partying, and I love to let off steam. I love to go out, So it's different, but I think that's really interesting. And I've never heard someone say it like that before, but you're completely right. You articulated it so well. It can keep you company. And by the way, when the pandemic hit and I first downloaded TikTok, that's exactly what it was for me, because I had no one. Like none of my friends would see me. Everyone was scared of COVID. Like we all thought we were going to die. Like I was so out of my mind that I was like, I need something. And that's what it came. And I think that's why I have such an emotional relationship to my content and my followers, because I was like forged in the darkness, and like we were
went
together.
through that together. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know it then. I knew it a couple of years ago. I told someone that I worked with about that. I thought TikTok was interesting. This is like before the D'Amelia, like Addison Rae people. And they were like, it's really for 8 to 13-year-olds. It's not for you. But I was intrigued by it. But I don't even have a computer or an iPad or anything, so I didn't understand it. And it's funny that you say that, because of the whole pandemic, and I went through something excruciating with my daughter in custody and stuff. But the whole pandemic, it was myself, my daughter, my 2 dogs literally holed up. And I'm glad I didn't understand it, because it would have been something I would have been feeding into, and instead I was just feeding into my daughter and dogs. But you didn't have that, and that's just an interesting. I will never take that time back. But given how strong it is in my mind, I can imagine how strong it is in your followers, your apostles, mind. So so people who are big on TikTok are always sort of posting the shitty comment that someone says, are really getting aggravated, want to get into that with everybody. So are there a lot of trolls? And because I haven't really experienced that, there'll be like 1 or 2 bad comments, but I hear you and a lot of people talk about these trolls. How bad is that? And what are your biggest compliments, and what are your biggest criticisms?
Yeah, it comes in waves. It will come in waves, and I don't know if it literally comes in waves, or if it's just like you are paying attention to it in waves. Because listen, when you read the comments, it's ego, right? And I've had a lot of therapy about this, because it is very psychologically damaging. I think, let me back up and say, I think it's psychologically damaging to read that much about yourself on a daily basis, good or bad, right? Like, I don't really know what it's doing to my brain to read 150 comments, Tinx, you're so pretty, you're the best, you're so funny, and then one being like, you're such a bitch, I hate you, blah, 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 all this stuff. Like,
and they could be all kissing your ass, and that one person could be right. Like, if you think that.
Who knows? It's just, it's a weird thing. So it comes in waves. Listen, there's some really, really mean comments. There's some really mean trolls. For me, it's not about, I don't get triggered by the you're fat, you're ugly thing anymore. Like, I'm like, okay, like, that's just so lame. Like, that doesn't faze me anymore. To me, it's like when I can sometimes get triggered when people purposefully, it seems like, misunderstand me, or kind of, I don't know, they take a joke wrong or something like that. Like, that can really get under my skin. But I don't know. It's so interesting, because we always say now, oh, it comes with the territory, right? And sometimes I think, why have we just accepted that? Like, why have we just accepted that because I put myself out there and I'm public now, I should be open to just like this level of criticism? Like, can you imagine if all of a sudden we were like, well, now for everyone who's an accountant, you're going to have 10 people who stand them behind them while they do their accounting, just being like, you're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're this, you're that. Like, why do we just say, oh, it comes with the territory? Like, it's because bizarre,
it's been public extreme rise in a short period of time, and people are miserable and jealous. And how great for them for 1 second to say something nasty that makes them feel powerful, and then for you to take the bait. It's worked. I mean, it happens with little kids all the time. Why do little boys hit little girls that they like? Like, people just want to get a rise. They need it. They like, people are vile, and people are mirrors. They see, why you, why not them? I mean, it's interesting. I just think that part of it is interesting.
I mean, sometimes it's not even like, sometimes it's the nonsensical comments that get to me the most, because I think it triggers something in me where it's almost like it's not even about me, but I'm like, I want to reach out to that person and say, your life must be so bad if this is where you took it. Like, someone made a video about me. I'll give you an example, like 2 days ago, and they were like, the way that Tinx was touching her eyeglasses, like, is so wrong. And then everyone was commenting, like, I don't think she actually has a prescription. Like, she has. And I was like, and it's, I get it. To me, I can't explain to you the feeling that it triggered in me, because I was like, the fact that you made a video thinking that I was lying about having to wear glasses, like, which I'm not sensitive about it at all, but I've worn eyeglasses for 10 years and I wear contact lenses every day. And I was just like, why did you spend time of your day doing this? Like,
right. But you're also like, why do I care? I've had the more I love, you're like, why do you care that this idiot said this? She says you're a purple clown. Yeah. What does that mean?
What does it mean?
Someone said last night, you're losing your hair. Okay, this is my hair. You're losing your hair. That comes with age. First
It's
of all,
just like,
I know it does. Thank you for pointing that out. But then you're just like, or something. I had like oil on my face because at night I put oil on my face. I didn't put
yeah,
disclaimer. I didn't send out a newsletter, but I
yeah.
had like a balm on my face. Why is your face always so greasy? First of all,
It's like-
I don't even have oily skin. Like now I'm like worried about the fact that I look like I have greasy skin. I have the driest skin.
I know.
So anyway, I
It's
get what
just
you're
like-
saying. Yeah.
It's just like, it's so, and
It's the stupidest thing.
it's just so silly. And I, when I started out, I really had a hard time with it in the beginning. I was like, because it was shocking and it came on so fast and I had never experienced anything like it. And I really worked hard in therapy. And now I'm in a pretty good place where I'm pretty just, I don't really care anymore. I'm like, I don't really read the comments. Like if you don't like me, like that's cool. Just scroll. And
Right.
and the thing that I always come back to that really helps me, the mantra is like, no one more happy or more successful than me would ever talk down to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like no one who's killing it is ever going to be like, you're this or that, things you're not funny. Like it's only people. It's
Great
really
note.
helped me. It's really helped me.
That's a great note. That's a great note. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What is the big picture? This is an interesting career.
Yeah.
And do you worry about the big picture? Do you have a big grand plan, or are you putting one foot in front of the other and just enjoying the moment and seeing what happens?
It's a mix. There's a lot I want to accomplish. There's a lot. But I'm also taking it one day at a time, and I'm trying to enjoy the process, and I'm trying to enjoy, like, I can be a very goal oriented person. And like, I set the goal or the thing that I want to do. And then I'm very tunnel vision, but that is quite exhausting for me. And it also makes it, that's not what life is. Life is actually the in between, right? It's actually the days where you're just like, 1% better. You're just working on something. It's like, that's life. It's not actually the day you launch the podcast. It's all the days leading up to it. So, I think the big picture is I love what I do. I can't wait to grow up with my followers. I can't wait to, speak to them on new platforms and in new ways. And I want to do them all. I mean, I always joke, like, aside from a singing career, I want it all. But I'm also just trying to be present and be grounded and be like, whoa, I'm really in a happy. It's so funny. Like for women, it's so hard for us to say this stuff because I never want to feel, but I feel very grateful right now. And I feel very happy with my life. And I'm just trying to enjoy it and work really hard and work on the next thing.
Do you want to be on TV? Do you want a talk show? Do you want that other medium, or
I want new mediums? Yeah, I want new mediums. I want to do movies. I want to do TV. I want to do it all. I think at the core of everything I do is storytelling, and I'm especially obsessed with connecting with other women through the joint experience of what it is to be a woman. So I think like, exploring those stories in different mediums and talking to my followers in new ways is what I'm really focused on.
Is there real money in what you're doing? Like, has it become real? Like, do you feel like, wow, I can kind of do what I want? Or are you still super frugal and have poor mentality? Like, where are you in that whole noise about money?
I just feel so, proud, like that I can like live my life now. And I do treat myself sometimes. Yeah, I do. But like I said this morning on my show, I said, like, cause I'm taking 10 friends to Coachella, and I got, I got the house, I got the artist pass for us. And like, to me, the number one greatest thing that has come out of all this is like my followers and my relationship with them, and like how I can connect with women. The second best thing, I'm going to be honest, is like being able to treat my friends is to me like sex. It's like the best feeling in the world. It's so fun. Like,
because it makes it so fun, and they're all like on the ride.
Fun, and it's just like, they were there for me in different times of my life when I was just like, crying and being like a loser and like not knowing what was going on. And to be able to do things for the people that you love is the best feeling in the world, and it's very cool. And it's just like to me, that's cooler than buying a bag. Like,
of course, that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. Wow, that little microphone thing, whether you invented it or not, is that a bit or that's a real thing? Does that function? Do people need that?
It functions. So, you don't need it. I just like, I'll be honest, there was not any great strategy when I ordered it. I was like in quarantine, and I was like, I was like drinking wine one night, and I was thinking like, oh my God, well, I'm like a mini reporter. Like, how funny would it be if I had that? Yeah. Right. And I was like, I just think it's so funny to like hold it. And I also, I kind of have like a little bit of a lisp, and someone commented like, oh, you should do ASMR. And I was like, maybe I'll get one of those mini microphones. Then I just started holding it and it became my thing. So I wish that there was some great strategy, but it was
I just didn't know. I was so dumb in the beginning. I thought people needed it to do whatever tech they were doing. So it's a bit.
It's just a bit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was a bit. Okay. We have a big problem here. This is very important. One, you like chopped salads. I was the hostess at La Scala, just so you know. Okay, $8 an hour, and I got a free $21 salad every day because I loaded everything on it. Because if you've been there, that you add on, and the turkey, and they add on for everything. It only comes with salami, provolone, and chickpeas, and that dressing, and iceberg, which is so cheap. So, and I used to get it with romaine, which is much more. But I never understood chopping salad because it becomes water. It's like a smoothie of salad. That's one I want to get into with you.
I know what the second one is. Truffle fries.
I know you think it's truffle. It's not just truffle. Salad in a cup. Like, I'm also offended. You put salads in cups. So you like eating salads out of cups. I'm secondary, like very offended by that. And 3, saying just as a blanket statement, that you don't like truffle. Like, these are bones to pick. I have a couple questions after that, but they're not as important. So those are bones to pick. Like soggy salad, truffle.
I just like a big trough of salad that's small, and I like to eat it with a spoon so I can like shovel it in, and it's all like mixed up because I need every bite to have every single piece of flavor. And from my thinking, like if the salad is chopped and the bits are smaller, then the surface area that's covered by the dressing is greater.
That's fair, but and then mix with water. But that makes some sense. It's a bigger lathering. Do you like gazpacho?
I love a gazpacho. Yeah, okay. I love it. But I love salad so much, like in a really non-ironic way. I fucking love salad. And then the truffle thing, listen, I don't like a truffle fry, but I do like a truffle pasta, a truffle risotto, sure, fresh, but it has to be, hate to sound douchey, but like to me, when I think of truffle fries, I think of like those like awful brunches that I would go to in New York City, like on a Saturday morning, and it's like a big cavern and it smells like feet, and then it's like not real truffle fry.
It's perfume. It's truffle perfume.
And then I'm like, ugh, like thinking about that. But if you're getting out the fucking thing, if you're walking over my table, pulling out the rock, telling me you bought it from Italy, shaving it on my pasta, absolutely, I'm in 100%. Okay,
because I didn't want to call you out. Imagine I see you at a restaurant and you're eating truffle, and then it'll be a big
scandal.
I'd be one of those trolls. I'd be one of those truffle trolls. Fact. I'd be like a truffle troll apostle. All right, well, I understand. The spoon and the salad were never. I'm not going to ever. It's like, why don't you just fucking get a Keurig and put some fucking salad in it and drink salad coffee? It's disgusting. I can't even think about it. Gross. So what has been your rose and your thorn?
Of all this, truly the connections that I have with people, like the girls who come up to me and say, like a girl that I haven't seen her since college, and she texts me, and we weren't close in college, but she texts me, she goes, hey, I still had your number somehow. I just want you to know I was engaged, and I knew it wasn't right in my heart. And through following you, I kind of got the courage to leave him, because you always say you're not too old and it's not too late. And, you really taught me a lot about self-worth. Or like I was at a wedding, this girl came up to me, she said, I have had a really tough time in life, and I finally got up the courage to go to therapy because you said therapy was cool. Like I fucking live for that
amazing.
Shit. Everything like that, the individual connections I have every time that I help someone out, like with even a mental trick, whatever, like that's the rose. The thorn is, I don't know. I'm a very optimistic person. I'm a very I don't know.
You don't have a thorn. It's okay.
I don't have a thorn. I'm very grateful. I've just grown immensely as a person over the last 2 years. I feel very lucky. I don't have a thorn. I love it.
And then I guess just the last question is the percentage, because lucky and smart. What percentage are you lucky and what percentage smart?
That is a really, really tough one. Yeah, I kind of believe like you make your own luck a little bit. Like I kind of believe people, especially with careers in the public eye, Jen Atkin talks a lot about this too. People are always like, oh, she just like right place, right time, whatever. But it's like a lot of.
Who's Jen Atkin? I've heard the name, but I don't know who that is.
She's a massive celebrity hairstylist.
Oh,
and
okay.
she has her
I don't
own
know
line,
anything.
and she's wrote an amazing book really about working and a work ethic. And I really admire her, but she always says like, people just think, oh, they're just pretty, or they're in the right space at the right time, or, whatever. But, yeah, that's a tough one. I think a good mix. I think I've been very lucky in my life, but I know you got to know when to make hay while the sun shines.
You've got the net for when the fish show up.
Exactly. You got to be ready and waiting. And like, I think that's part of it is what I've been able to do over the past 2 years, is because it's like, I knew the feeling when right away I was like, it hit, and I was like, this is it. And you go, it's like
the wave, the set is coming. You got to ride all those waves. You can't get stuck in the impact zone,
like,
because you've been in the impact zone.
Yeah. Cause I've been floating out there. I've been floating, and I'm like, what's going on? And in those moments I try to tell people, like, if there's nothing right in front of you, it's okay. Don't struggle. Don't just sit in the water and flail and be like, whatever. But when you see that wave coming, you get on your fucking board, you put your eyes forward, and you go so that you're ready. And then when you're, and
the tables are hot, you press your bets. You're at those. Yeah. Well, we're similar, and we've had interestingly similar trajectories. As I talked to you, I didn't know much about you, but I remember being on Housewives and talking to this guy about moving in and on camera, because he didn't want to be on the show, but the audience doesn't know that. He was like, we'll talk about this later. And I'm like, but aren't we going to move in? Like, AKA the producers want me to talk about this on camera. Even though, and he's like, we'll talk about it later. I kept digging myself in deeper and back to high school when it wasn't cool to be the one who got broken up with, the way that I came up. Like, you're sitting here getting sort of broken up with ish. And the viewers were, you're our Carrie Bradshaw. Yeah. And I became flawed, and I became real. And it feels like that's what you are. So you're flawed, and people are feeling good about that instead of trying to be perfect, which is what most people are trying to be. And so I applaud that. And also, you publicly mentioned Be Strong, my relief effort. So
the ice cream that we did, we're going to give the proceeds to Be Strong. And what you do is so amazing. And it's genuinely inspiring. And what I like about it, when the tragedy started happening, it's like, it's another conversation, but I looked, they say, look for the helpers. You're a helper. You are saying exactly where the money's going, exactly the impact it's having. You are a operations. You know how to execute, you know how to get shit done. And that's the best thing that we need right now. So I want to thank you for everything that you've done. It's really amazing work, and I'm really, really happy to support it.
Well, I appreciate that. And that's, you have a Sunday at Craig's called the Tinx Sunday, and you have your own ice cream because it's vegan. But I appreciate that, because one of the things I will say, celebrities post links of something that somebody else says that they're doing, and I see it. Yeah. And there's always a middle person. Yeah. So people like you who have influencers are saying, go donate here, but it's not you that's doing it. So you're telling them to go donate, and often the people don't know where that money's going, if that makes any sense. So I'm like, no, I'm in charge of the money. Like, it's being run like a business, and most people aren't good business people. So why would most orgs be good? So I know,
and there's like, there's links flying, and there's just so much noise. And I'm like, I want to give my money to someone who knows what the fuck they're doing and how to make an impact. End of story. It's actually,
that. We are streamlined. We are economical. We're organized. And I just appreciate that, because I see a lot of that. I'm like, oh my God, why did they give there? 80% goes to not the effort. I get frustrated, I know. So you're amazing. This conversation exceeded my expectations, which were high. So I can't wait to meet you in person. I know. I'm in LA in June. I have an event. Maybe you'll come.
Please, I love that. I admire you so much. Thank you. This was a great talk.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.